Alright, good morning, gang. So this is just a follow-up to let you guys know what we found out in regards to the failure on the Mavic. So if you guys weren't aware, the main board here on the bottom that has the vision sensors on it cooked off Saturday, and there's a nice burnt smell that's coming from the board. There's heat blooms that are on this side of the heat shield. So most definitely the board failed on this area of the drone. Wanted to find out why, if there was something that we missed, and working with Iron Wedge, basically we're able to kind of localize what went wrong. So this is the original body, and you can see that most of the damage occurred on the front of the drone, and of course this side was crushed. There was a car that ran over it, and I mean it pushed the mounts through the top. It did a lot of damage over here, and this area of the drone, you know, most of these pieces were not connected. They were torn. When I originally looked at the base piece, I didn't think that the damage that was there had gotten into the actual drone, but based on what I'm seeing here, and then the fact that when we actually hold this at a certain angle, you can see that there's a bend in this. This metal heat sink has a bend in it, and it's twisted, which then put pressure and twisted the fine solder joints that were underneath that shielding that we were never able to see. We didn't know that any of the damage was done there. I mean, there had been a light crease on the top of the heat shield that I noticed, but it didn't seem to be deep, so I didn't think anything of it. The other thing that was telling was that when you look down the body, you can see that this leg is bent inward, which means that the center of this is bent as well, which means that this whole thing here with the screws attached to the board was putting immense pressure on that PCB board, and probably had some broken solder, or at least damaged or weakened solder on some of the parts of the PCB board that are on the bottom. So that board didn't fail until we had everything connected. In other words, when we did the initial tests, the ESC board wasn't connected, etc. It was just turning on. It wasn't trying to enable an IMU. It wasn't trying to do any of that mess. It was just showing that it had power. Once we had soldered everything onto the drone, then all of a sudden, all of those additional features in the drone come active, right? So all of this stuff was reconnected. The antenna wires were reconnected. All of these components were reattached. And once it had signal coming from all these things, then that part of the processor enabled one time, which was the video that you guys saw where it all turned on and the motors were started and it looked great. And it was almost immediately after that, when I buttoned it up and restarted it the second time, that it failed. So glad it didn't happen while it was in flight, obviously, but disappointed that I missed that. We did pull the bottom board off and look at it. There was a little bit of a crease to the board that was, I mean, literally, unless you were looking for it, you wouldn't have never seen it. So where we stand right now is all of these components, of course, are good. The drone itself is functional. We know that it works. We just need to replace the main logic, or the logic board on the bottom. Initially, we thought that board was going to be like $300-400. Turns out that it's in the $170 range, I think. And some people, Wedge said he saw it actually for less in some places. So that'll be the next thing, is just to replace that board. The gimbal and the video cable for the gimbal are already ordered. They're on their way. They'll be here before the end of the month. And this of course is a new piece, so I don't have to worry about this causing any damage. I'll pull the main logic board out, and I'll probably, if I get a chance, I'm going to peel that shielding off. If I see anything physical that I can show you guys in it, I'll make a video and let you see where the board actually failed, which, if I'm not mistaken, looking at this, was this edge along here. So, and you can see in comparison where that impact was and how this got pressed in, and there's just just enough of a bend just to put some stress on that board, enough that it probably weakened the solder joints. And then once we put power through it, the solder joints would heat up, and once they got warm enough the second time, then they failed. So it was an accident looking for a place to happen, basically. And I'm just glad it didn't happen with the drone in the air or when we were trying to attempt a hover flight. So other than that, that's my update for today, and I will let you guys know once we have the remaining part, and we'll continue fighting to get this drone fully functional. She deserves to be in the air just as much as the Phantom 4 did. So thank you very much for watching. You guys have an awesome week.